off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You're tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports radio station, KCAA AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, Streaker, Spreaker, and more. Why so many places? Because I want to maximize my splatter zone for more hope and happiness. So if you want to hear what's on the news right now, please don't tune in here. You can get that everywhere. And usually if it bleeds, it leads. Instead, on this show, I want to balance out all the bad news with some good news, good people, and solution. And today is absolutely no exception to the rule. I am so delighted to have her here. It seems like a lifetime ago when I met you at the Institute of Violence, Abuse, and Trauma, which I'm so glad and honored to have been a keynote there for 2 years, actually. Unfortunately, during COVID, so I didn't get to go to Hawaii. We're still working on that one. But David Hogg was the keynote this year. And I'll tell you, he absolutely blew me away with his work in ending gun violence. Really, he was part of another horrific gun violence happening that was in the news, and he referenced and absolutely gave kudos so many times. A lot of people did, to my very special guest today. Her name is Nicole Hockley. She is the founder and CEO of Sandy Hook Promise. And without further ado, I'm going to just welcome her into my studio. So delighted to have you. I've been waiting for this and really looking forward to getting to know you on the air, on camera. That's what I do. So I don't do pre-interviews. I don't want to know what questions or what to ask you, only because you do that all the time. So I want this to be a conversation where you can really just pour, I'm a heart to heart, and I can tell you first of all, I'm getting already like goosebumps, and just, I can't imagine what it must have been like. How many years ago now?
It's coming up to 12, yeah.
12 years. So let's start with that, and let's just go from there, because I want the full story. I just don't want, the rhetoric that some news places ask you to because they have an agenda. I have no agenda here, except to, one, give you Dr. Marissa's Beneficial Presence on the Planet Award, because you are a person that's taken tragedy, and you don't have to do this. You've dedicated your life now to ending gun violence because of what happened to your son, Dylan. And I want to go back there because it's important for anyone who's lost or anyone who has been impacted by tragedy to see that there is hope, and without sort of forcing you to go there, but take me back, and then I'll properly give you the award after that. So.
Sure. Yeah. So coming up to 12 years now, since December 14th, 2012. Both of my sons were at Sandy Hook Elementary School that day. Jake, my eldest, was in 3rd grade and 8 years old, and Dylan was in 1st grade and 6 years old when a troubled young man shot his way through the locked doors of the school and used his AR-15 with high-capacity magazines to shoot 154 bullets in less than 5 minutes that killed 26 and 7-year-olds, 21st graders, and 6 educators. And my son, Dylan, was killed in his first grade classroom and died in the arms of his special education assistant, who also died while trying to protect him. And, from that moment, my life changed, my family's life changed, my community's life changed. And I'm that sort of person that has to do something. So 1 month later, I helped launch Sandy Hook Promise, with a mission to end shootings and other forms of violence against young people. And we've had amazing impact over the last 12 years, and also continue to learn how best to tackle this issue and how to bring people in. So it's not just a fight and not a divided issue, but something that is really possible and creates long-term sustainable solutions, because we all know that gun violence is preventable.
Yes. 1 month, man. That's pretty quick turnaround there, and just a breath. I'm just gonna just take in the gratitude and appreciation that I feel for you and what you're doing, and I hope that you feel that love from everyone who appreciates. I'm sure you get the thank you, but sometimes we're just so like doing it that I really want you to feel that appreciation.
Thank you.
That's why I wanted to give you Dr. Marissa's a Beneficial Presence on the Planet Award, which I don't give to everybody.
Well, thank you.
And if you just tuned in live and you're wondering what's going on in studio this morning, it is actually Mental Health Mondays is the series that I do on Mondays, because I want us to take responsibility for our own mental health and not reach for something to numb, and hope. And so Nicole Hockley, who is this beautiful mom and advocate and educator, is here to inspire hope and healing, as well as talk about what we can do, because there is a solution. And I went back. I don't usually do a lot of research, but I wanted to put the, just sort of you being in the news, and I'm so grateful that you're adamantly bipartisan is my favorite word. Yeah. Right? That you don't get drawn into that. And you know what I forgot to do? I usually start every show with breakfast. I was so excited to bring you on. Breakfast is taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich. And I do this at the top of every show. This is, by the way, my 651st consecutive week on the air.
Congratulations.
Camera, thank you. So that is my first gratitude, that I have been here despite all odds. They said I wouldn't last a year, and that I get to have guests like Nicole Hockley on the air to share with all of my watchers and listeners. What are you grateful for?
Oh, I'm grateful for so much. I'm grateful for people around the world who have expressed their compassion and kindness following Sandy Hook. I'm grateful for my surviving son, Jake, and the amazing young man that he is becoming. I'm grateful for my family and my friends. I'm grateful that I get to work with the amazing people at Sandy Hook Promise every day. My team is just phenomenal. And I'm grateful that, our message is being heard, and that we're reaching kids across the country and helping them through tough times and saving lives in many, many instances. So there is a lot to be grateful for sure.
That's fabulous. That's the top of the button. That's how I want you to start every morning, folks. 28 consecutive days of doing this. I promise, if you don't wake up and reach for this thing and start doing the MS scrolling, meaningless scrolling, and say instead your gratitudes, like Dr. Wayne Dyer says, 5 in the morning. I do 8. I'm a recovering overachiever, and 8 is a lucky number in Chinese. It's a homophone for good fortune. Bottom of the button is what you do before you go to bed. And I like to exercise people's ability to love themselves. So appreciation is gratitude turned inwards. What do you like about yourself? Instead of thinking about what you did wrong or who done who wrong, I want you to be really clear about how fabulous, one of a kind, wonderful you are. So I'll start. I appreciate my ability to pivot and accept that I'm not perfect. And sometimes, 88% of the time I'm fabulous. 12% of the time I step in it, and it's okay. And I appreciate my ability to be okay with that. It's a process. So, what do you like about yourself, Nicole?
I guess I like my innate curiosity. I like understanding how the world works, how people work. I always ask a lot of questions, and my team knows that whenever I ask questions, I'm just seeking to understand and to seek something even better. It's never like a criticism or anything. I'm always wondering why or how. That's kind of core to my being, for sure.
That's very cool. That's very cool. And I appreciate our attraction of fabulous people. Nemesis of Eden, good to see you back. You're welcome for what we do here, and just love interacting. If you have any questions for Nicole, please do put them in the chat. But we're going to take a little journey now. And I did want to, because it is Mental Health Monday Matters, talk about tragedy and the healing from tragedy on a personal level. I was one of the people in the library when the salon shooting happened in Orange County, and worst massacre in Orange County. And I didn't want to be there necessarily, didn't try to. Actually, that's not true. I volunteered. They said they had people coming, so I was left, and then was brought in by a friend whose best friend was the husband of one of the victims. And so from that point on, I became known because of the article that Orange County Register published about grief and healing from grief. So I want to hear from you. That month, how did you find out that your son had been shot? Like the whole, so that people who hear this, not to, be guilty of, if it bleeds, it leads. But I think there's a lot of value for people who think that they will never heal from tragedy. That you are definitely a beautiful example that you can.
Yeah, and healing is a tricky word sometimes, because I'm not, I will always grieve my son, and I don't know if I can totally heal from his loss and from his murder. But what I can do, and what I have worked to do, is be there for my surviving son, and still continue to be the best parent that I can be for both of my boys, and to try to live my life as best as possible, and through the work that I'm doing, provide a legacy for my son, but also prevent these tragedies from happening elsewhere. And I think that that's important to me. And thinking about when you said, you can move forward after tragedy, and I do believe that. And I remember, especially in the first couple of years, even, I would often get criticism from people who were like, well, if, I don't know, if that had happened to me, I'd probably never get out of bed again, or, I wouldn't be able to laugh or anything like that. And I'm like, well, fortunately, I'm very glad this has never happened to you. And secondly, you don't know how you're going to work through life. And I could have chosen to stay in bed for the rest of my life. I could have chosen to disappear. That was not a choice that was true to me. And I didn't feel that was a choice to honor Dylan or Jake. So yes, I do laugh. I do cry. I do dance. I sing badly, but I will still sing. And I work to recover and find ways of having joy again in my life. I don't think my son would have wanted me to not find happiness. So that's important. That doesn't mean that I've ever forgotten him or ever not feel his loss, but my Jake is still alive, I'm still alive, and I intend to live for all of us. That's important too.
Beautiful. Do you have tools that you use to keep you in that space?
Ish. I mean, I have tried multiple different modalities of therapy and different things, and sometimes they work for me. Sometimes they're just too hard, and sometimes I get scared if I'm being brutally honest. But I find that I have a very, very close network of friends. After the tragedy, my network of support really expanded rapidly and then condensed just as rapidly in terms of people that they know I'm there for them literally 24/7, and I know they are there for me 24/7. So, if I say a little keyword, like at one time it was potato, and if I said potato to a friend, they knew that they had to get to me immediately because I needed help and just to talk or just to sit next to someone and be present with someone else. So I think that's been the most critical thing for me. Also, for me, nature is an incredible recovery mechanism. And whenever I start to feel unbalanced or overwhelmed, I try to get to an ocean, in all honesty, or water in some way. And I find that grounds me a lot. I know, like on Dylan's birthday, I'll very often just go to the beach. I see it. It's beautiful. And I love walking the beach on December 14th, the Remembrance Day of his death, or on his birthday. And I'll just walk the beach and look at the waves. And it kind of reminds me that life continues every day. It continues and begins again. And also that although I might be feeling overwhelmed in that moment, there is so much more in the world that is greater than that. So it kind of just regrounds me and rebalances me.
That's beautiful. Balance is also one of my favorite words. And I like that potato word. I'm going to have to think of one because one of my issues is I think I can handle it. So what you're saying is, you have to reach out. You have to be vulnerable. That's also not my favorite word, but to lean on people. So that's a great, and I discovered that day in the library. You don't say things like, I know how you feel, because you have no freaking idea, no forking idea how anybody feels, really. And then two, a hug and zip it is sometimes like the best thing. Yeah, you're validating that for me.
Absolutely.
So that's what I wrote about. So, the clipboard of things to say is just like, come on, folks. Too early.
Even when I go and visit after other tragedies and visit families of who have lost parents, siblings, husbands, wives, or children, I never say, I know how you feel. I'm like, I have a similar experience and I can talk with you about that and listen to you, but I never presume that I know how anybody else feels.
Any other tips for what not to do?
It's funny you mention hugging. I mean, I love hugs, and I think sometimes it's important to respect someone's boundaries.
Okay.
And sometimes, I mean, I found myself at the beginning, everyone wanted to hug. I would be out at a public event and I would be like, why is someone rubbing my back? Or, it would be, and I understand it is a way to show, hey, I care and I support you. But there are times that it can actually be overwhelming to have too many hugs from people who you don't know. And so I think even just asking, hey, can I give you a hug? Is a nice show of respect and respecting boundaries as well. I think that's also important. And also I got in the habit instead of saying to other people in my circumstance, instead of saying, how are you doing? I always ask, how are you doing today? Because it can be such a up and down roller coaster ride of emotions and feelings. And it's kind of like a check-in for how are you right now versus, because our stat answer is always to say, I'm fine. And it can actually be like, actually today I'm not great. Yesterday was a good day. Today is not good. So can we talk about that, or can we not talk about that?
Yeah, well, I'm sure someone's told you what FINE actually stands for, right?
Yeah.
Effed up. Effed up, irrational, neurotic, and emotional, right?
Yep,
Or my
so
favorite
true.
word.
So true.
When people ask me, are you fine? I go, do you really want to know? No. And they're like, nope. I take it back. So we need to take a station ID for news and weather. I'm so delighted. We'll be right back. Please don't go away. Nicole Hockley, founder of the Sandy Hook Promise, will be here when we come back in 2 and 2. Chuck Woolery used to say that, dating myself. But I say peace in and peace out. We'll be right back.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And we're back. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, home to the Asian Oprah, AM 1050, FM 106.5, NBC News Radio, streaming everywhere, iHeartRadio, Spotify, of course, my show Central that houses all 1,251 podcast shows, my YouTube TV channel. I'm so glad you're here this morning with us. I see the eyeballs rolling in. My very special guest this morning is Nicole Hockley. She is the mom of Dylan, who's on the other side now with my dad and all our loved ones. We all come from love. We go back to love. But his life has inspired so many, including his mom, who's doing the work that play and finding things to be happy about, for sure, as we spoke of before the break. And she's here to educate us in terms of dealing with tragedy, as well as how to end gun violence. And y'all know I don't talk about the morbid unless we have a solution. I don't talk about the problem unless we have a solution. And Nicole, the rest of the show, I want to focus on solution. What we can do as people right now, we're about to vote, what we can do to support this whole effort of Sandy Hook. Your experience with other gun violence shooting scenarios, because you've been at pretty much everyone since Sandy Hook, and any kind of stuff that you can talk about on that would be really awesome.
Sure, no problem. Happy to help. Where would you like me to start?
Here we go.
I think there's a lot of what I've learned on this issue and the solutions that work. They're really twofold. One is around behavioral change and education, and the other is on the advocacy side. And at the top of your show, you mentioned David Hogg, and one of the founders of March for Our Lives, and currently leading Leaders We Deserve, which is about electing gun sense candidates into office. Those are super important things in terms of voting in people that align with your views on issues. And we do part of that at Sandy Hook Promise as well, in terms of writing legislation and working always in a bipartisan way for every piece of legislation, whether it's in the issue of firearm violence or school safety or mental health and wellness. But a lot of our focus is also on programs. One of the best ways to prevent violence is to recognize when someone needs help and to get an intervention, because 4 out of 5 school shooters, 7 out of 10 people at harm of suicide, they give off signs. So we teach kids and the adults around them through programs like Start With Hello and Say Something and our Save Promise Clubs. What do these signs look like? and how do you get help for someone. And we know that this works because we're super careful about our numbers and what sort of data that we use, but we know for a fact we've had several thousand mental health interventions and referrals to safety, over 700 youth saved from imminent suicide who were either about to go into the act of ending their lives or at that extreme end of self-harm, and stopped 16 credible school shooting tips where we've trained in the school. The tip came into us first. We worked with the school team and local law enforcement, and the person had means, access, and plans. So we're in all 50 states, about 24,000 schools at the moment. And, that makes a difference, teaching people how to recognize when someone needs help and then intervening to get them the help. That is it's a proven way to stop violence and gun violence. And then you support that with the correct laws and legislation to ensure access, appropriate access and responsibility. So, which is perfect for suicide prevention and domestic violence prevention in general.
Yeah, I'm like seeing this for the first time because I like to react real time. Each day, 12 children die from gun violence in America. Another 32 are shot and injured.
Yes.
Every day?
Every day, on average. Gun violence is the number one cause of death for children between the ages of 1 and 19. Suicide is the number 2 cause of death, and it's predominantly suicide by firearm. So this is and that's been like that for at least 3 years now. So this is a major problem affecting young people. It's not just about school shootings. It's about accidental shootings. It's about violence on our streets or in our neighborhoods. It's about suicide by firearm. It is the number one killer. And the thing is, it is so completely preventable. So this is a public health epidemic. We know the solutions and the models that will work to end this. And it's not about stripping people of constitutional rights. It's not about taking all of the guns away. It's about helping people before they pick up a weapon to hurt themselves or someone else. And part of that is recognizing signs. And part of that's ensuring appropriate sales and marketing of firearms, and also appropriate storage of firearms. So that is really a lot of what our work is focused on. It's no different from seatbelts and drinking and driving. You teach people what to do, and you give them laws to support that behavior and enforce that behavior. You're still going to have some people die in car crashes. You're still going to have people drink and drive, but the vast majority of it you're going to curb, and that's exactly what we can do with gun violence, especially against children.
Nearly half of all parents with a weapon in the home wrongly believe their children don't know where a gun is stored.
Yes, that's a scary fact. There's
That's
a lot
so scary.
There's I meet a lot of parents that own guns and parents that own guns across the country. And I remember doing some research not 2 years ago. It was focus groups with families that own guns for, self-protection or hunting or whatever they're choosing to do it for. And there was this one dad who said, oh yeah, I keep my guns safely stored. It's in my bedside cabinet, but my 5-year-old doesn't know where that is. And the other parents on the research call kind of jumped down his throat and were like, no, if you think your kid doesn't know, but your kid knows. We've seen guns that have been stored on tops of refrigerators before, and kids can access it. So it's really responsible gun owners know to keep guns in safes or in secure storage mechanisms that are locked so their children can't access it. And they just need to keep focusing on that. But yeah, most kids know where to find things, they can't be naive about that.
Right. And I saw another one, 93%, I think it was, know before the shooting's going to happen that they do have warning signs,
Yes.
but they ignore them, or for whatever reason, that's not that, I guess, what is the downside of actually putting a warning system in place. Like, to me, that, common sense is uncommon. I get that. But the pushback, help me understand the pushback. Is it all just because we don't want you telling us what to do with our guns?
I don't really know what the pushback is for not, because it's not about guns. Knowing the signs isn't about the gun or the weapon. It's about, is someone giving off at-risk behavior? Is someone threatening to hurt themselves? Is someone threatening to hurt someone else? What does that look like? And then how can we intervene to ensure that they don't carry through with the act? There shouldn't be any pushback for that, because if someone is saying, you'd be better off without me, I'm intending to end my life, there's no pushback to trying to save that person. If someone is saying, I'm going to shoot up a school or the mall or this temple, there should be no pushback on that. But unfortunately, because it often has a firearm involved, the way our country is so polarized and divisive right now, as soon as you hear the word gun or firearm, people immediately take sides and think it's about that, rather than it's about keeping someone safe. So I like to kind of take the gun out of the conversation, and it's like, whatever lethal means we're talking about, let's just talk about, how do we save a young person's life? How do we help them get the help that they need? How do we stop something from happening? And sometimes that is about ensuring that someone can't access a firearm or a weapon, for sure. And I'm a very firm proponent of gun violence prevention and methods to stop that. But that doesn't mean that I'm about stopping Second Amendment rights or taking away guns. It's not about that. And if we listen to each other more and realize this isn't about a fight. Yeah. And people don't listen enough. And it's like, when you really start having a conversation with someone, no matter how extreme their views might be on either end, I've never met anyone who's pro-gun violence. I never met anyone who's pro-suicide. So it's like, let's explore what we do agree on, rather than immediately talk about what we think the barriers are. Right.
Or that, that jump to who's to blame before understanding what the issue is. Because we do all don't want our children to be shot, for goodness sakes. No. So if we can keep it at that level without, I had a former KKK on, and I interviewed him. And his point was, there's really no use talking to someone who's already 12 miles into the woods, right? Because you can't reach them at that point. So you have to go into the woods with them to be able to, get on that same level before moving to a solution. So I guess my point earlier was, what is keeping the early warning system from happening?
You mean people reporting on what they're seeing and hearing? It could be a combination of things, I think. And that's why we focus so much on education, because some people don't understand what they're seeing. They think perhaps it's a joke, or like we hear this from youth sometimes, that they're like, oh, that person's not serious, they're just seeking attention. Or, well, I can't say anything because then I'm a snitch and I'll get in trouble. Or someone else will take care of it. Those are kind of some of the common things we hear from young people. And it's part of the education is like, well, first of all, no, if someone's displaying these behaviors or putting threats out there, you have to take them seriously. Because even if someone is saying, I'm going to end my life right now, they're not actually about to do that. Something is going on in that person's life that means they need help. So you have to always take it seriously to get them help, because what you're seeing is only what they're putting out there on the surface. There could be a lot else going on with them, and they need help. When it comes to like snitching or something, we educate that when you're snitching, you're trying to get someone in trouble. So it's like if you're a big sister with a little brother, and like you're saying, oh, he's doing this, you're getting him in trouble for your own good. When you're saying something, it's about getting someone help. So we educate on that. We role play that a lot in terms of, it's not about getting a person into trouble. It's about getting them help. And they might be angry at you, but I'd rather have a friend be angry at me than a friend end their life. So it's important to say these things to get someone the help that they need. And it's not about getting them in trouble. And the third thing, in terms of, oh, well, they're just, someone else will take care of it. That's the bystander effect. And that's something that we really work on a lot with adults and young people, is like, don't assume someone else is going to take care of it. If you're seeing things or hearing things, take action, be an upstander, be someone who leans in to get someone help or to stop something from happening, because we can't just assume someone else will always take care of that for us. So those are some of the barriers we see. And sometimes with parents as well, I also hear, well, my child might have said that, but they don't mean it. And I'm like, your kid is crying out for help.
Yes.
Your child needs help. If a school is raising concerning behaviors, parents have a responsibility to respond to that and get that child some help or put some safety nets in place. If a parent is seeing something, you need to, we're all biased towards our own children being perfect. But we all need help sometimes. We all have bad days. We all go through anxiety or hopelessness or depression. So actually recognizing that and helping your child rather than saying they don't really mean it, that is, that's negating your responsibility and your love, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. Is this education program mandatory? It should be, I'm going to say that, in every school, like literally. I mean, it makes sense, but again, common sense is uncommon. Have you tried to get this? I'm guessing you're trying to get this in every school. What can we do to make that happen?
We can absolutely support it. I mean, we're in about 24,000 schools at the moment. We serve, like this last year, we trained about 5.8 million youth and adults, but that's only about 10% of the K through 12 population. So we still have a long way to go. And Sandy Hook Promise's ambition within the next few years alone is to double that to about 11 million. So that's still only 20% of the K through 12 population. We have some amazing state partners that do mandate this training. We have passed legislation in several states that mandates this training and provides funding for it. It doesn't mandate our training, it mandates training in violence prevention and recognizing signs, and provides funding for it. All of our programs are available at no cost to schools, but there are other providers who might charge as well. So in the end of the day, I don't care whether it's Sandy Hook Promise or someone else. I just want the training to reach the kids and to have this happen. So we definitely want it mandated. So people who want to support, there's different ways, like going to our website, sandyhookpromise.org, advocating for it in your school district, supporting it in other school districts, becoming a promise leader, which is kind of like our super ambassadors that either work on the programmatic side or the advocacy side, and just really learn and share this mission, this mission and this message. Because you can even just have conversations in your own family. If you're a parent, you can have this conversation with your child. What do the signs look like? What are they seeing and hearing? What are they concerned about? What's getting served to them on social media? And how can we better ensure that whatever they're seeing and hearing is being acted on, that we're being trusted adults for them, but also that we are helping ensure that dangerous material or dangerous messages aren't getting to them, but they have an outlet to report it, to tell someone about it, or to get help.
So just on your personal situation, what was found about the shooter in
at Sandy Hook? So he had given off warning signs throughout his life that were either missed or not intervened on. He had an obsession with firearms and previous shootings, such as Columbine. He did make some online threats in different social media channels at that time that were not understood or reported. He had open access to weapons. The weapons were kept unlocked. There was a safe in the house, but that was unlocked, and most of the weapons were stored in his bedroom closet. He had some serious mental health and wellness issues that he was not receiving treatment for. Some people are like, oh, it was his medication. He wasn't on medication. He had shut himself off, completely self-isolated from the world and his family. He was very obsessive around that. So there were things that he had drawn in school that were reported, violent imagery, and talking about harm to others that wasn't intervened on. So there was a lot. And I remember when we met with the FBI's behavioral analysis unit to kind of share out some things that they had discovered about the Sandy Hook shooter and what they thought could have been his reasons for doing it. And it was, educated guesswork based on their tons of expertise. I remember them saying that this was because of all the warning signs that he'd given off throughout his life, and he'd planned the shooting for over a year, that this was a pretty typical school shooting. And that's kind of what angered me a lot. They didn't mean it in a bad way at all. They were amazing people. But I was like, there's nothing typical about a school shooting. And if we know that these signs and behaviors exist, we need to all be educated on what they are so that we know what to look for and how to intervene. And that's the more studies, the more research that we did on it, and reading, Department of Homeland Services reports. And again, recognizing the signs is one of the most effective ways. Recognizing the signs and telling someone or getting an intervention, one of the most effective ways to prevent violence and mass shootings. So that's why we were on a mission to educate every child in the country. You get generational change that way as well, because then that just becomes the behavior that we do every day. And that's what we're going to continue to do and help kids in that way.
Yeah. David mentioned something that shocked me as well, that the focus on finding out what the shooters have in common, or, the focus that they're mentally ill or not on meds, should have been on meds and all of that. The one common thing that doesn't seem to make the news is the fact that almost all of them have in common racism and hatred of diversity of some kind. And that hate, why is not a helpful question in this case. Why don't we look at that? Or, I just wanted to sort of ask about that as well.
Yeah. When it comes to mass shooters, there's no real profile for a mass shooter. They tend to be male. They tend to be white. They tend to have some sort, issues with other races or cultures or religion or political ideology even. But it is very much like kind of a white male issue. Overall, 2/3 of shootings are suicide. So there is that as well. Mass shootings tend to be a smaller but incredibly larger event, because they do get more news coverage, and it's something that we're all scared of. But there is that as well. We are supporting this generation of hate in some respects, and providing them easy access to the means or weapons to carry out their act. One of the reports that Sandy Hook Promise put out a little over a year ago, and his campaign we're continuing to work on, called Untargeting, is around, because I was one of the plaintiffs in the trial against Remington Arms. And as part of the discovery there, we got all of their sales and marketing material and saw how the industry had changed from a hunting and safety culture into focusing just on money. And the way that they were going to do that was expand their marketing to young people, Black people, and women. And in that order, because they needed to create new audiences to buy more guns. And when you look at how the marketing has changed from, kind of traditional American gun culture of the past, which is focused on hunting, safety, family, and self-protection. But the ads have changed in the last decade to be much more focused on, you need to protect yourself from them. And you have images of people in hoodies on rooftops, and you're saying you need to, clear the rooftops. That's murder, basically. Or having shadowy figures in the background, having a white woman looking scared. It's the imagery and the marketing tactics used are much more insidious and egregious than they ever were in the past. And that's helping fuel the hate to say, you need an AR-15 to be a man. You need an AR-15 to kill the people that are against you, whether that's an immigrant, whether that's a Black person. It's not that overt, but it is overt enough that it is horrifying, and those things need to stop. So that's why we're also very focused on what content is reaching our kids. It's not to say you can't do sales and marketing for firearms, but why is this not regulated in any way, shape, or form?
Unfortunately, it's the theme. I mean, look at the way that the campaigns are going. It's all based on, fear. Like, right? It's just crazy that I don't know. We can't go there, but is there anything on the ballot right now that is going to help us?
Yeah, and I don't get involved because we're so strictly nonpartisan. I don't get involved in that.
No, I hear you.
Yeah, but there are definitely in different states, there's different initiatives that we're working on that are helpful. But I think also this is a major election cycle, obviously, and you have two very different views on gun violence, and I was personally saddened and dissatisfied watching the VP debates when someone was talking about school shootings, and you had one candidate who was saying this is abhorrent, needs to stop, we need to take actions to stop these, and the other candidate rather, saying this is just a fact of life in America. That should make every parent's blood boil, because this is not a fact of life in America. It is preventable. No one should go to school and be scared that they're going to get shot, or no parent should send their kid to school thinking, when is my school going to be next? That's unacceptable behavior when there's solutions in front of us that can help. So
absolutely. Did you say it was Everytown? Was that the one that you were talking about? What is the organization that helps elect people who are going to make a difference in this?
So of the national groups, every group except Sandy Hook Promise has a PAC. So March for Our Lives has a PAC. David runs an organization called Leaders We Deserve, which is about young people taking office. Everytown has a PAC. Brady has a PAC. We're the only national gun violence. Sandy Hook Promise is the only national gun violence prevention organization that is nonpartisan and does not support or endorse candidates or give any contributions. We give zero political contributions.
Okay. So so everyone else is either on one side or the other. Is when you say PAC, what does that mean?
Political Action Committee. So they're raising funds for candidates.
Oh, okay.
We don't do that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Now
with whoever's in office,
I see what you want. I see what you're saying. So the education component and getting this into every school is probably the most effective thing. Is that about right?
Nonpartisan. Yep. Because
that's the nonpartisan.
Republican states, Democrat states, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. Which is why you're here. And so Sandy Hook Promise is that because I was going to direct to other places, but I think that if we're going to put effort in this, and we only have so much effort, even though we're limitless, the education component. So I would say at my appeal, my Happy 88 plan of action or call to action for Nicole is, if you are at all involved in our education system as a parent, as a teacher, as an administrator, I've got a couple of nieces who are in that. I'm going to, send this to them. Getting this education in schools is number one. I mean, right.
I would agree.
And thank you. And then number two would be have this conversation with your kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right.
You need to know what's going on in your kids' lives and help them. Yeah.
Probably equal 1 and 2. Like it's probably the same time, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Anything else? I know your schedule is packed. I'm so glad
No,
that
it's
I
great.
actually got you for this long.
I appreciate the time. And I think as well, I mean, you mentioned other groups, and, it's important to understand that there is a whole landscape of groups out there doing good work to keep kids safe and to prevent gun violence. So for all of your listeners and viewers, find the group that resonates with you, because if it is about elections, there's amazing groups that do that. If it's about legislation, Sandy Hook Promise is one of many groups focused on that. And if it's about education and awareness, Sandy Hook Promise and others are doing that too. So it's like, find the one that works for you, but do something. There's so many people that don't get involved in this because they think it's just a fight. And that's the worst thing to do, is not to get involved. Use your voice and advocate for what you need.
Yeah. And the conversation isn't about the amendment. I think that is the takeaway too, that I'm hoping that people get. It's the larger 88,000 foot look is, do we want our children to be safe as they're getting educated? Do we want our children? I'm almost don't want to ask this, but I'm gonna, because I like to put the moose on the table, which is my Canadian version of talking about the elephant in the room. Actually, I have a little moose here. I think I lost him. But is there any parent out there who thought that their kid didn't know that they had a gun and then the child harms himself? Is there that out there and they're speaking about it?
There have been some who speak about it. Yes. And I think, for anyone who does have firearms, practicing secure storage is it's life-saving. Plain and simple. It is life-saving.
And then the other moose on the table would be, if you are one of those who are all about protecting your rights to have firearms, and the amendments were made a long time ago, number one. And number two, be cognizant of what the message is doing. Is it impacting your fear? Is that fear really real? I mean, charging bears and things to protect yourself. I don't know. And do you want to be part of the racism and unfounded fear against others? And do you want to be part of shooting human beings, which is really unnatural? I just had a show with a veteran. The trauma, we're not meant to kill other people.
No, we're not.
We're not made that way. No. So all of those, I'd like you to just mull over, and please come to your balance-centered self-senses. And please do go support Sandy Hook Promise in whatever way you can. I just want to thank you so much. I didn't take a break for the sponsor because I'm going to do it after you leave, so you can go continue doing your things that you are so well equipped to do. And please give my love to your other son.
Thank you.
And I would love to have him back with you at some point, maybe on the anniversary, if that works, because I want to celebrate Dylan and what he's inspired in you. And I just so appreciate having you on here.
Thank you very much, Dr. Marissa. And I'm sure I will see you at another Institute of Violence, Abuse, and Trauma conference as well. And thank you for your time and this opportunity. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. If you wouldn't mind, I do this at the end of every show. It's all about balance. If you would stick your piece in, peace out. World peace through inner peace. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
Coming on. You've been phenomenal. Wow, that was incredible. And I hope that you got that. I'm going to take a quick break now to thank the sponsor for today's show. When I come back, I'll do a little wrap up. And thank you all for tuning in, because it is all about balance. Now a word from our sponsor. Don't go away. It's Dr. Marissa about to report live on the red carpet of the 25th Newport Beach Film Festival, October 17th through 24th. And I'm, again, the proud sponsor of the Chinese Spotlight Film, and I get to give away free passes to the Pacific Showcase, which highlights and celebrates all things Asian film, food, and fun. So tune into my show. Take my advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show, to find out how to win passes for the Asian Oprah giveaway, as well as the promo code. So you can get discount tickets at www.newportbeachfilmfest.com. We'll see you there soon.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And we're back for a quick wrap up. That was just fabulous. I hope you enjoyed that interview as much as I did. Nicole Hockley, who lost her son in the Sandy Hook shooting. 1 month later, she she's the founder of Sandy Hook Promise, an organization that's really making a difference. So please go support them. Also, go support Newport Beach Film Festival. It's on for another 3 days till Thursday. Wednesday night. I don't know what day it is. Wednesday night is the fabulous, incredible Pacific Showcase. I want you all to be there. I'm going to be introducing this Chinese Spotlight film. I'm honored again as one of the sponsors of that event and that day. And I just love the Newport Beach Film Festival. Greg and Todd do an amazing job every year. It's getting bigger and bigger. The carpet's bigger and bigger. The level of participation and the quality of the film is excellent. Dennis, my colleague, is actually responsible for Stuntmen, which is the movie that we're going to be watching and I get to introduce on Wednesday night. And then after party with the lion dancers and taiko drums and all kinds of party entertainment that's Asian. So I hope to see you there. If you want Asian Oprah, not giveaway because those tickets are gone, but you get a discount, Asian Oprah discount. If you go to Newport Beach Film Festival, go to Chinese Spotlight Film and put in the promo code Chinese 2024. You will get a discount for the tickets. I'll see you there on Wednesday night. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about Mental Health Matters Tuesday. Yes, little date in my head. Mix up, but tomorrow we will talk about how to deal with criticism in taking responsibility for our own mental health as well as life mottos. You can see the clip of myself interviewing Halle Berry, who gave me the answers to those two things, and we're going to take off on that tomorrow's show at 9 a.m. Pacific time, right after the NBC News. Wednesday, Doctors in the House. If you missed my interview with Dr. Crystal Lee and Dr. Tiffany Tate, go to my free subscribe YouTube channel. Thursdays, Straight Talk with James Hawthorne, and Friday is the Hollywood Rebel Report. Just keep it tuned here. Take my advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa. Remember, it's all about balance. Peace in, peace out, peace through inner peace. Now go and have the best day ever. We'll see you tomorrow.
Take back your life with Dr.